Hi there, today we are going to be reviewing the topic of making connections when we read a story or when we listen to a story. I know we've gone over this, I've gone over it and Ms. Nungesser has gone over this, but remember, whenever we go over something again, it just helps our brain to really learn it even better. So what I would like to do now is give you some time to think about what does it mean when you make connections to books? Can you give you some time to think about it? Alright, if you need more time, just pause the video. But when you read, you find ways that the text or book is like things in your own life and other text you have read. So I keep saying text. What does text mean? Okay, it could be a book, a magazine, a newspaper. It is writing, right? So it says text to self, so what I would really like to focus on is just books right now, okay? It could be magazines, newspapers, anything that has words, really, text, but today we're focusing on books, okay? So just go ahead and think about that for a moment. All right, let's go over these three. Text to self, go ahead and say that. Text to self, text to text, your turn. Text to text, text to world. Text to world, very good. So let's go over text to self. So whenever I do this with my students, I like to do hand movements. So text, remember we're focusing on books. So I'm gonna actually hold a book in my hand, but you're gonna pretend that you have a book in your hand. So text to self, go ahead and do this. Hold your hand out. Text to self, this is what I mean. This book reminds me of something that's happened to myself. So text to self. Go ahead and do that. Text to self. Good job, okay? Now, text to text. I'm going to hold up two books because I actually want you to see this, but you're just going to hold your hands like this. Okay? So, text to text. That's what I mean. I have two books, right? This text reminds me of this text, right? Text to text. This book reminds me of this book. Okay? And then text to world. So you're going to hold out your hand and have a book in my hand. Text to world. Go ahead and do this. Text to world. This book reminds me of something that's happened out in the community, out in the world. Okay? Let's actually talk about each one a little bit more. Text to self. So this book, this text reminds me of something that's happened to myself. Okay? And I'm holding the example of, it's Christmas, David. So this book, something that's happened in this book that's reminded me of something in my own life is whenever I was a little girl and I was wanting to get into the gifts and open them a little bit early, right? So this book reminds me of whenever I was a little kid and I was trying to open gifts a little bit early and my mom would say, no, you can't open gifts. Do you see what I mean? This book, I'm making a connection. This book reminds me of something from my own life. That is text to self. A connection, right? I made a connection to this book. Okay? All right, text to text. Now I'm still going to use It's Christmas, David, and I'm going to use Too Many Tamales. Do you remember when we read these books back last month in December? Yeah. So this book reminds me of this book. How does it remind me of, why does it remind me? Because this book has stuff about Christmas, and so does this one. They both take place during Christmas time. Okay, this book and this book both take place during Christmas time. So this book reminds me of this book. That's a text to text. That's another connection. All right, so text to world. I'm going to use Too Many Tamales. This book reminds me of things that happen out in the community. For example, during Christmas time, a lot of families get together and they make tamales like this family did, right? So this is a text to world because this book reminds me of other families that make tamales around the world, okay? All right, I hope you like this little review over making connections. Remember, do it with me. Text to self, text to text, text to world. All right.